Alright, today I'm going to show you how to rig a drop shot. So the three things you'll need are a drop shot hook, a soft plastic bait, and a drop shot weight. So first thing I'll do is I'll show you how to connect the hook, and it's pretty easy to do, and it's actually going to be using the Palomar knot. And if you're familiar with that, it'll be really easy, but if not, this is one of the best knots and one of the easiest, quickest knots that you can tie in all of fishing. So the first thing you'll do is actually put your line from your rod and reel through the eye of the hook. And you want to make a long tag end, a lot longer than you would if you're just tying a lure on. So I would say about 16 inches or so, especially if you're just getting started and getting used to it. That's a good place to start. The next thing you'll do is actually put this tag end through the eye of the hook. So at that point you're going to have a giant loop. And then you're going to pull it down so it's a little bit more manageable. And you're, again, leaving that tag end. So you want to make it so it's a loop like that. And the next step of the Palomar knot is to actually tie an overhand knot with this loop that creates, that makes an overhand knot over your tag end that you created and the line going back to your reel. So you're going to make an overhand knot like that, and then you're going to put that loop that you created through the hole right there. The next thing to do is actually put the hook through that other loop. And at that point it should look something like that. And then you'll want to moisten your knot because you want to make sure that it doesn't create any friction. So you can put it in your mouth so it's wet, so then when you pull it down it doesn't harm itself, it doesn't wrap on itself, and then you want to pull it tight. So that's the Palomar knot. Now the next step is probably the most important. And what you'll want to do is, with that long tag end that you created, you know, the 16 inches or so, you want to get to the end of it, and then you slide it back through the eye of the hook. And this is very important. It needs to be going downward, through the hook. Because what that will do is when you pull it together, it actually will stand that hook straight up and down versus being upside down. That is an important step that you cannot miss. So at that point, you have your hook connected, and you're ready to connect a soft plastic bait. You know, hooks like this, it's as simple as nose hooking the bait, and that's ready to go. And it's very, very good for for easy hookups. Now the last thing you want to do is actually connect your drop shot weight. And these drop shot weights have a special clasp on them. They're a little bit different than any other weights out there. And the thought behind it is that you can just take your end of your line and put it through that clasp, and then just pinch it tight. And you don't have to tie any knots, is the theory behind it. So what that does is, as you are hung up and you shake trying to break it free, you will lose just your weight because that will come loose. Instead of losing your hook and your worm and everything, or breaking your line, which could happen. So what I do is I just make one overhand knot. And this way it keeps the weight on there a little bit more. So you're not going to lose as many weights, but still, if you get hung up really bad and you pull it enough, this will come free and you won't lose everything. So that's what I do. I cut this tag end a little bit so it's closer to the overhand that I created. And all in all, I usually have about a 12-inch leader, and that's kind of my go-to from hook to weight. But you can adjust it based on different depths. If you're fishing really deep, you might want to have a longer leader, and if you're fishing really shallow, you might want to have a shallower leader. So that's how you rig a drop shot. There's a lot of different ways to fish it, but it catches fish of all species. So this is a great technique to try out if you haven't.